All right, now here we go. So, guys, like I just mentioned, this week what we're going to be talking about is how to effectively sell aged internet leads. And like I just mentioned, last week we had Bill Rice on from the Age Lead Store. And what we really talked about is last week is about how are those leads generated? How do you access the website? What's the cost of the leads? And really this week we're going to be talking more about selling. So make sure you stick around into the call because that's when I'm going to be going over the phone script I've been working on with myself and a couple of other agents that have been working the age leads and really developed what I think is a really good phone script. Seems to be working effectively. Just remember, this is a changing environment. So, we have a phone script this week. We may come out with new material, next week or something that an agent has been doing. I get feedback on. I'm like, oh man, I really like that. Let's implement that. Remember, it's a moving target. This is something new for us. Doing telesales. But what I can tell you is that we're getting a lot better at it. We're getting a lot more success stories. Agents are getting better. They're getting more comfortable. They're getting out of their comfort zone, getting more comfortable selling over the phone, making that transition. And that's what we're going to be talking about today is give you some tips and techniques on how to do that. On a couple of side notes, Jim and I are going to talk about a few other things. The one thing I want to talk about first and just bring to your attention, and if you've been listening to the radio, watching the news, I know that you've seen that a lot of people, through no fault of their own, are out of work. And a lot of people just don't have the ability to do other things. They don't have the skill set necessarily. They're not willing to get out of their comfort zone. Maybe they working, maybe it's a manufacturing job. That job has gone away temporarily. The point of the fact is that there's a lot of people out here in the United States that are really, really hurting because of this coronavirus and what's going on. And unemployment numbers are off the chart. I don't know if they're talking about record unemployment. I don't know what the record is, but what I can tell you, it's bad. Food banks, food pantries in your area are in desperate need of donations, whether it be monetary or actually physically taking food. Guys, if you've got the ability, I just urge you, if you have the ability to do something, even if it's small, help out your local food pantry or your local food bank. Next time you go grocery shopping, maybe pick up a few extra things and drop it off to your food pantry. Or if you're able to make a monetary donation, even if it's just 10 or 15 bucks, man, just every little bit that we can do is helping. Because as bad as you think you've got it, I promise you, there's people out there that were already in super bad shape and running on fumes before the coronavirus, and a lot of people haven't been able to get their unemployment. Just man, I just urge you to find a little bit, and we're all hurting. We're all hurting, but let's try to help out those that are in desperate need. And food, man, food is a basic, very, very basic essential. And just talking about unemployment right now, unemployment is at a record high. People are looking for jobs. And the one thing that Jimmy and I wanted to talk to you guys about is just about, man, just how honestly, how lucky we are to be in a position and be in an industry where we still have the ability to make money. Although our environment has changed, yes, we have gone from selling face to face to primarily, pretty much selling over the phone. It's new. But the fact of the matter is that we can still do it. We're just making a few little changes here and there. And so, Jimmy, I know you wanted to talk to the team about, I know you had some thoughts on this about, staying positive, during these adverse times. So let me turn it over to you. Let me get your thoughts on this subject. Okay.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, buddy.
Well, senior solutions, as Joe mentioned, we still have an opportunity to provide for our families. Our profession, the key to success is in our own hands. And although we have to adapt and do something, different than what we're used to, we still have the capability of earning a living. Um, and I'm sure there's many people that can relate, and there's probably many stories out there. But I can tell you a couple of people that I know of that are family members, that made a very, let's say, substantial income, having to go on unemployment for, maybe 20% of what they're used to making. Um, you know, they're they're really struggling. They're really, they're in dire straits. Other folks that I know of that are in the hospitality industry, they're pretty much paycheck to paycheck all year round. And now that, they weren't able to work, you know, they're trying to figure out how they're going to make it. And it's those type of folks that are having to go to the food pantry. But to put this on a positive perspective, the keys to your success, you hold those keys, not somebody else. And that in itself should be encouraging, because it's just a matter of what it is that you want. Just go out there and get it. I tell my son all the time, who's 9 years old, every time there's something new for him to learn or do, he has such a hard time with it. He really hates change. Um, I mean, at an extreme level. And he first starts doing something and he, gets frustrated. He hates it. He says he's terrible at it. He can't do it. And I always have to encourage him and keep reminding him that it takes practice, that you have to keep doing it over and over, and then you start learning and you start developing skills. And it's no different for us. I mean, having to switch to 100% phone sales for many people is painful. We don't want to do that. It's a lot of rejection. When you're knocking on doors, you could probably hit maybe 15 or 20 doors in a day, but when you're calling, you can probably call 100 to 150 people a day. And so it's a lot more rejection. And it's that rejection that holds us back. And so my thing is just to stay focused on the numbers. Just know that it's a numbers game. Um, and focus on that, and don't worry about the no's. You're just sifting and you're looking for the yeses. But guys, you control your destiny here. All you have to do is adjust. And I do have a couple of tips for you, because I've had a couple of agents reach out to me this week, and they're doing really good on the phone and everything's going well. They close the sale, they get through the presentation, and they get to the point to where they're going to do the application, or they're going to move forward. But then when they get to the bank information, the other party freezes up, because they still never met you. They're still like, they're unsure, right? They doubt. They don't know if they should trust you. um, and so I have a couple of tips for you if that's happening to you. One, go back to those people. If it's already happened, go back to those people and offer to get them set up on a direct bill. Because the way I look at it is, I'd rather get paid as earned than not get paid at all. And then the other thing is once those people get their policy delivered, now they know you're legitimate. You can follow up and you can go for the referrals. Once you get a referral, that's a warm lead. They know that, oh, my mom or my brother, my friend, my cousin recommended you. They don't have that doubt. They don't doubt that you're legitimate. That part's removed, right? So go ahead and do the direct bill. Get the paid as earned. Get the sale. If you need more information on how to do that, get with Joe or myself, or you can call the carrier that you're selling. But don't miss an opportunity over over a bank account, right? Put your people at ease, right? Another tip that you can do there is you can email them or text them a picture of your driver's license along with your insurance license, along with your business card, right? You can say, I wouldn't be giving you this information if I was going to be crooked, because you can just call the police and they'd come pick me up right away. The other, along with that, you want to give them the phone number to the contracting department for the insurance carrier that you're selling them. So if it's Mutual of Omaha, you give them the Mutual of Omaha contracting phone number, not the customer service number, but direct to contracting. Or if it's Liberty Bankers or Royal Neighbors or whoever you're selling, and you also include your producer number. And I have agents that are doing this and they're very successful. So once they provide the customer all that information, they ask them to go ahead and call, as an example, Mutual of Omaha Contracting. Here's my producer number. They can verify that I am an agent that is, representing the company. And once people, go through those steps, they usually will follow through and give you that bank information. But again, if that holds them up, don't let that stop you from making the sale. Just set it up as a direct bill. But guys, you just dig down, start making those adjustments, start plugging away. The more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. You're going to make mistakes, you're going to make errors, you're going to mess up, but that's how you improve. And you just get better. And then the next call and the next time you have that scenario, you know how to handle it or adjust to it. And so, guys, what a great opportunity to be able to work from your own home, not have to drive in traffic, not have to worry about, the gas or the mileage, in the comfort of your own home, and you can still earn a living. What's amazing to me is that even if you just make 1 to 2 sales a day, at the end of the week, that adds up to thousands of dollars in compensation. And so again, the opportunity is there for you. If you're doing really well and you want to get some advanced techniques, you want to learn how you can manage your time. Get with me and Joe. We can do some one-on-one mentoring and also some game planning and talk about strategies that can help you increase the amount of people that you're getting in front of. But it starts with you dialing first. It starts with you making the contacts. It starts with you doing the presentations, right? And once you start getting in a rhythm, and you say, you know what, I'm doing well, but I want to talk to more people. How can I do that? Reach out to us. So I mean, with that, I mean that's about the best thing I can say, guys. Is the key to the future is in your own hands, and that's a great thing. Not having to worry about the government or when are we going to go ahead and open up businesses again, or worry about am I going to get my unemployment check, is my employer going to let me go back to work? You control your destiny, and that's a beautiful thing. So Joe, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, buddy. That was awesome. Guys, just a couple of things I just want to add to what Jimmy was saying is that even though things are tough, just be thankful, honestly, for the opportunity that we have that we can still sell. Just think about this. Just at the end of the day, what Jimmy was talking about is we control our own destiny. We still have job security. There are people out there, like Jimmy was mentioning, in the hospitality and other fields. They don't have control over their environment. We do. Being in one of the beauties of being in insurance sales, and specifically the final expense business, is that our industry, the arena that we're in, I'm telling you, it's virtually recession proof. Because you just think about the people that we're marketing to. We're not marketing to high net worth people that just lost 30 to 40% in the market and are freaked out. We're marketing to people that are already on a fixed income. So even though as devastating as the coronavirus is, it's not that devastating to the market that we serve. Most, as you guys know, most of the people that we work with are are lower income. Their main source of income is either Social Security or SSI, or it could be maybe a small pension. None of that stuff was effective. None of it went away. Most of the clients that we serve are not in the market. Most of our clients have extremely limited market exposure. So the fact that the market's down 30%, most people I'm talking to, they're not freaked out over the market. Why? Because they're not in the market. You got to remember, the people that we serve are people that, worked hard their entire life, but probably never really saved enough money to be financially secure. So they're kind of living that paycheck to paycheck. That's why it's so important that we contact these people and we get in front of these people, because we're the difference makers. We're the ones that are going to make sure is that when they do pass away, they're not leaving their family with a financial burden. So just be thankful that the position that we're in. The other thing is with anything new, when you transition from anything, there's going to be a learning curve. So you're going to have a learning curve between selling face to face as we did normally, as to now doing the telesales. There's going to be a learning curve, but the worst thing you can do is not take action. Um, here's the thing. Here's my tip of the week: is don't let procrastination set in. Procrastination is the killer. Procrastination is the disease. The cure to procrastination is taking action. And the reason why humans, the reason why we procrastinate, it's because of the perceived pain of the task at hand. It's just like uh, doing yard work, or working out at the gym. Why don't we do it? It's not because we don't want to do it. It's because of the perceived pain. Oh, if I work out, I'm going to be sore, or you have anxiety about the perceived pain. Only way to get through that is to take action, which brings me to the next thing I want to talk about is not accepting defeat. And I want to bring on somebody here. Let me see if she's available. She's on the call, a good friend of mine. We've known each other well over 10 years. We've been working together with Senior Solutions for about 4 or 5 years now, maybe longer. And that's Candy Cardona. And Candy's a great salesperson. She's so effective in the home. But the thing about Candy is that she was very used to strictly selling at home, or like face to face, like calling, making the appointment. She's one of the best I've ever seen at door knocking and getting in and making a presentation. So this whole transition from going to face to face sales to selling over the phone was something that I know that she was definitely struggling with, because it was totally out of her comfort zone. And she got back to work last week, and we were doing some coaching back and forth. And lo and behold, this week I'm so proud she sold 4 applications over the phone, which something that she'd never done before. So I think it would be a huge success for someone going from have never sold over the phone to selling 1 application, but to go from 0 and never attempting it to selling 4, I think that's pretty amazing. So Candy, I've queued you up there pretty nice. I see you here. I'm going to unmute you real quick, see if we can't get an audio connection. Candy,
Hi,
you
Joe.
there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, loud and clear. So just tell us a little bit about, maybe what was going through your mind, and how you went from had never ever selling an application over the phone to selling 4 applications in 1 week. That's pretty amazing.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for having me on the call, Joe. I appreciate that. And I wanted to say hi to Jimmy Hernandez. I hope you're
Hi,
doing well,
Candy.
Jimmy. Hi. And I had took some time off because, as we know, my husband got laid off because of the coronavirus. So I took some time off, and while I took some time off, I started contemplating on what am I going to do with my life because I couldn't door knock anymore. And I've been on attending every single conference call, and you guys have figured out how to sell over the phone. So I did coaching with Joe this week and just made my mind up that I was going to attempt to do some phone dials and see if I could make a sale. And the first day, which was Monday, I made my first sale and I was so excited. I have been really overwhelmed thinking about getting on the phone and trying to make the sale over the phone. And I kind of spooked myself out and I just decided I was going to do it. And I did it. And I wrote one on Monday, one on Tuesday. Wednesday, I didn't have any luck, but yesterday I wrote two. And one was for Liberty Bankers Life, which I was very excited for because I've never wrote for Liberty Bankers Life. And I also wanted to thank you and Jimmy because you had mentioned on one of the conference calls to send them your business card. And one of the ladies that I was on the phone with was a bit skeptical because I was asking for her banking information over the phone. And I told her, I can send you my business card. It's got my picture on it. You'll know exactly who I am. So I sent it to her and she had to get off the phone because her son was leaving for work and she wanted to say goodbye. And she called me back 5 minutes later and we finished the phone interview. And she was thanking me for sending her my business card because it looks more legit. And so bottom line is I sold $2,382.24 worth of policies.
Awesome.
And it's something I thought I would never be able to do. So if I can do it, anybody could do it.
Well,
Great.
I agree. Anybody can do it, but it's, you know what? It's just taking that leap of faith and be willing to get out of the comfort zone and just do it because, I mean, we're all going to suck at it in the beginning. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I just think back, we think about how awesome, like, doing, direct mail leads and being able to go out and physically see the client. Yeah, that's great. But guys, I absolutely bombed at it when I first got into it. When I first got introduced to the final expense, which was in 2010 is the first spring or yeah, the spring of 2010 is when I first so 10 years, a little bit over 10 years ago is when I saw my first final expense lead ever, direct mail. And I bought a batch of 19 of them. I didn't sell any of them. Like I totally sucked at it. But I kept going and I got better. I got some coaching and I knew, here's the thing, I I knew it wasn't the clients, I knew it wasn't the leads, I knew it was me. I needed to get better. There are people that have been selling over the phone for years and years and years and think that we're idiots because we go out, we drive around burning up all of our gas. So we know that selling over the phone works. It's been done for years. It has a different set of obstacles that we have to get through, but you're never going to learn if you don't stay in the game long enough. Getting on the phone and dialing for 2 or 3 days, that's not enough to get you over the hump. It may take a week or two. It may take a month. Regardless of however long it takes, you got to stay in the game long enough and you got to keep the activity and do the work in order to get through your learning curve because everybody's going to have a different learning curve. Your learning curve may be making 1,000 dials and 10 connections. It may be 3 weeks of making calls. So there's not one set standard for everybody. Each individual is going to have their own learning curve of what they're going to have to get through it. Thankfully, we're bringing you content like this to help you get through the learning curve. But the biggest thing I can say, Candy, is that the only way that anyone's ever going to get to the learning curve is that you got to take action, and
Absolutely.
you can't accept defeat, and you just gotta go for it. Um, so being that you did your first, I know there's a lot of people on this call too have never sold a um, Liberty Bankers, and doing an interview over the phone can be a little bit awkward. Are there, after doing your first one, is there anything that maybe you learned from doing that first one that you could give maybe one or two tips to help an agent that's going to do let's say they're going to do their first Liberty Bankers application today?
Um, I'd like to say that make sure when you do your Liberty Bankers Life application, you completely fill out the 2 or 3 page, I think it's 3 or 4 pages. Make sure you fill that out before you make the phone call to DIMA, and be sure that you coach your clients that they're going to, because you have to read a lot of disclosures to them. So you want to make sure that you've explained to your clients or coached your clients that in fact you did read the disclosures to them. If they answered no to all the questions, I remind them, you've answered no to all the questions. So it's no different when she's asking you the questions. But and there's also a trick question on the application, and it asks for uncontrolled high blood pressure or uncontrolled diabetes. Make sure if your client doesn't have those issues that they hear the question carefully and ask and respond the correct way. Because my client that I called with Liberty Bankers Life didn't understand the question and almost said yes to the question, and then asked the interviewer if she could repeat the question, and it was a no. So it's kind of tricky, that uncontrolled diabetes and uncontrolled high blood pressure. So you want to make sure that the client knows that this question, you read the question to her, let her know it's a no answer, or him. But it was really easy. The lady took over the call after I gave all the information to her that she asked me for. And then she started asking my client for the questions. I explained to my client yes or no answers. Don't say yes, but 20 years ago I had this. If you did, just yes and no answers. And they're there to qualify you. So that's really all I can give. It was easy, to be honest with you, Joe. And I was tripping about this for so long to even get on the phones, and it wasn't hard at all.
Right, right. The one thing, Candy, is that these people that do the phone interviews, Dima and the other ones, guys, here's what you got to remember. These are like highly trained people, and they're so professional on the phone. Once you go from, making the phone call, you do the presentation, you close them on the on the phone, on the payment and the carrier. Once you get them on the uh, on that interview, it gives you so much credibility, because the questions that they're asking, it's so scripted, it's so professional sounding, and the fact that it's being recorded, and they have these lengthy, disclosures that they're saying. It really adds in lends to your credibility that, hey, this is legit. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so yeah, well, that's awesome, Candy. And your client, I know the Liberty Bankers, she got approved preferred, right?
Right. Yes,
Um,
she did.
yeah, the only thing I'll say with that is just make sure that you do follow up with your client. Go ahead and send out a thank you card, just like you would if it was a real client. And follow up. I always like following up with my clients in like a week or two, just to see if they have any questions, and then remind them about their draft. And then it's also a good time, now that they know that you're legit. sometimes, you're on the phone for so long, sometimes we forget to ask for referrals. So a good time sometimes to ask for referrals is when you make that follow-up call. So that's the only thing I would add, is send out that thank you card to your client, and then follow up with a phone call after she's gotten the thank you card, and then ask for referrals as well.
Yes, I did ask for referrals while I was on the
Awesome.
phone with her because I figured I was on the phone with her for so long, and now I've made a friend because she's talking to me, because once we hang up with Dima, I called her back,
Okay.
and she was talking to me, and I asked her for referrals. She said she didn't know anybody at the time that
Okay.
needed life insurance, but said she would definitely refer me if she did find somebody. But you're on the phone long enough with the client. What's one more question? Do you know
Sure.
anybody else who needs life insurance that I could help?
Good point. And you didn't get a referral this time, but if you ask every single time, guys, you are going to get referrals. The other thing that you could do is, as you get better with this, you get more comfortable, whether it's on that call or later, you can still implement the ERS system as well, which, as we know, which is a great way to get referrals. Jimmy, did you have any questions for Candy? Or Candy, any last comments before we get on to the rest of the call?
No, I just want to thank you for your conference calls, Joe. You and Jimmy's calls really motivated me to start doing the dials, and now I don't want to stop. I actually did a dial yesterday, and the guy asked me if I could call him back today because his wife needs insurance. So,
Awesome.
so many
Awesome.
things can lead to more clients if you just make the calls. It's not hard. And trust me, I was really, really lagging on making these dials. And when I'd set my mind to just start doing it, I really regret not doing it sooner.
Well, that's all right. You're doing it now. That's the important
Yeah,
thing. That's the
yeah.
important thing. All
Yeah.
right, awesome, Candy. Thank you so much for being on. I think you are truly, you've inspired me. I think you're truly an inspiration for everybody to just do it. We all have the ability to do it. It's just whether or not you make the decision to do it. So
Absolutely.
Hey,
thank you
Thank
so much.
Candy, stay on. I want to ask you a few questions here in a second. But Joe, if it's all right, I wanted to add a couple of comments.
Yeah, please do.
So the first thing I'm going to recommend to everybody is make sure you're keeping track of these sales that you're making over the phone, and wait about 10 days to 2 weeks after that policy's been issued and call the customer, right? Don't forget about them because you made the sale. Call your customer back and ask them if they received their policy. And if they received it, ask them to pull it out, that you want to go over it with them to make sure that everything's correct and answer any questions that they might have. When you do that policy review, it's kind of like a policy delivery, right? But you're doing it over the phone. This builds your relationship with that person. They know that you're real, they know that you care about them. And this is an opportune time to get referrals, because in that course of those 2 weeks, they've talked to a few people about their policy, and they might have some referrals for you. So
Oh my God.
always follow up with them. When they have the policy in their hand, it's like legit, right? Like it's their final credentials that they know that this is real, that you're legitimate, right? So when they get that, they're more likely to release referrals. And if anything, down the road, they'll remember you, that you wanted to help them, and they'll call you when something comes up. So that's my first tip. The other thing is going back to what Candy was talking about as far as coaching your people on the phone. You definitely want to coach them, but I want to make sure that we clarify, like, we're not misleading the insurance
Oh,
company, but
yeah,
but
absolutely.
but let me give you an example. A lot of times a question might be like, have you had a heart attack within the last, let's say, 2 years? So you want to coach them on the time frame. So, if you had a heart attack, let's say 5 years ago, then the answer is no, Mr. Customer, because they're not asking you if you've ever had a heart attack. They're asking if you had it within this time frame, or diabetes, or whatever the case is. They're not asking if you have diabetes. They're asking, in this question, they're asking, have you had any complications of diabetes? So you want to be very clear so that they can understand the question, so that they can answer yes or no. And I can tell you, Joe and I had this conversation. It's probably been 4 or 5 years ago, Joe, but I remember my very first call with Liberty Bankers. I had a lady on the phone. Her answers were all like no, except for the very last section. And so I quoted her standard, which was still a day one coverage. And she had told me of some issues of cancer and some other stuff, but it was like years before. And so when we got on the phone with the underwriter, this lady just wanted to brag about every medical problem and concern that she's ever had, right? And that call literally took about an hour and 15 minutes to get through the phone interview. And the thing is that even though the time frame is outside the limits of what the question asked, but because they bring up that health concern, it's their job at Dyma to probe and gather as much information. And that's why it took so long. And man, it was the most brutal interview. And when it was all said and done, the whole time I was there, I was just thinking, why doesn't she just end the call now? Why doesn't the underwriter, why don't she just say, I'm sorry, you're not eligible? Why don't she just say you decline? Why do we have to be, so thorough, go all the way to the end? Like, let's just, you know, chop off the head now, right? Well, at the end of the whole thing, the lady came back and she was chuckling like she said, I've never had an interview like that before, you know, and she came back and we gave her level coverage what I quoted her. And I was just so like in awe and in shock, because I thought it was just a dead deal. But to save yourself that brutal, lengthy call, just make sure you're walking through the clients, through the questions. They understand the time frame and that those are yes and no answers. I always tell people at the end of the call, if they see something on your medical information bureau, and they have questions at that time, they'll ask you more specific questions, and then yeah, you can elaborate. But during these standard questions, these are just simply yes or no answers. Another thing too is you want to make sure you do read them, the disclosures, because they are going to ask them if they read those disclosures. Just recently I had forgotten to do that, and the lady said no, and I literally had to read all the disclosures over the phone while we're doing the phone interview before we could proceed. So that'll save you some time there. Um, Another question that they ask that's not on the worksheet is they ask them if they're on disability. So you might want to just keep that in the back of your mind and probe that question before you actually make the call to the underwriter. Okay. Um, so Candy, I want to go back and I want to ask you a couple questions. So my first question to you is, where did you get the leads that you called on this week? What was your source?
Okay, I had some leads that I had purchased that I hadn't worked yet. So I called some of those. I called some of my old clients
Awesome.
and tried to upsell them. Some of my clients, uh, three of the clients were from old leads that I called that I upsell them. I asked them if they would like more coverage during this pandemic time. I explained to them that a lot of my clients are increasing their coverage because of the coronavirus. And is that something they would, is that something they have considered doing? And three of them had said yes. And then the other one was from my leads that I purchased through YIG that I just hadn't called yet.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, that's a great story. And so, for the folks that are on this call, go back to your existing book of business, those people that you wrote, a few months ago, a year ago, a few years ago, whatever the scenario is. That's a great, it's already a warm client. They've already conducted business with you. The hard part is over. So those are real easy calls to make. And those are also calls that you can possibly get a referral on. And then the second part is calling your old leads. I love that. I mean, you didn't even have to spend any additional money. You just made sales on, leads that you already purchased.
Right. And I have a ton of leads that I'm going to go through that have told me no, or I couldn't make the sale. And I'm going to go back and call all of them as well. Because during this coronavirus pandemic, people are really scared of dying and they want to make sure they have enough coverage if they do pass away.
Yep, that's awesome. All right. Well, Joe, did you have any other questions? I'm gonna give the call back to you.
No, we're good. Candy, thank you so much. Again, a true inspiration. I'm motivated. I want to go make some calls now. So appreciate your friendship and appreciate you being on the call. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
All right. Candy, I'll just let you, well, here, let's see, I'll let you mute yourself, but I'll go ahead and do it. All right, guys. Well, man, that should get everybody fired up right there for sure. Let's just talk. I'm going to go over, I want to get into the script part of it real quick, but I just want to go over just a couple of lead generation pieces first. And I want to get into the script. We've only got about 15 minutes or so left for the call. But generating leads for telesales. Where do you get the leads? Well, Candy mentioned about calling her old book of business and leads that she had already purchased. What about newer agents, or what about agents that don't have that book of business? Here's some ideas for you. And this is one thing that we're working on right now. Now, this would be more for the agent that has a pretty healthy budget, and that's doing real-time live transfers. What a live transfer is, that's a client that just say how they're generated. It's an internet lead. It's somebody that has gone searching for life insurance. Let's say they do a Google search, and then an ad pops up. Then they click on the ad. They input their information and they submit it. Instantly, the telemarketing team is calling that person and interviewing them and asking them a series of questions about life insurance. They're asking questions like, they actually say this, Jimmy, I think they stole this from me. On the call, they said, oh, Mrs. Smith, do you know how these state regulated plans work? The client says no. And then they go in and they explain about the different guarantees that the plan offers and all that. They ask them the how old they are, whether or not they have a checking account, where they have life insurance. If they answer yes to life insurance, so as an example, they say, Mr. Smith, do you currently have life insurance? Mr. Smith says, well, yes, I do. They ask a follow-up question. Mr. Smith, are you interested in replacing that policy or adding to it? If Mr. Smith says yes, then it's a good call. If he says no, they say, I'm sorry, you don't qualify. They disconnect the call, okay? So they're qualifying the clients. Once they go through those series, then they're saying, they're letting the client know, hang on, I'm gonna go ahead, we're gonna get you connected to a state licensed agent who will be able to give you the rest of the information. My phone rings, I pick up the call, I have the telemarketer and I have Mr. Smith on the phone. They do a little bit of a send off. Hey, I've got Mr. Smith on the phone. This is his date of birth. Give me the particulars. I take the call. The call has to last at least 90 seconds before I'm charged for the lead. So if it's a bogus transfer and the guy says, listen, I don't even want to be on the phone. I don't know why I did this. I'm hanging up. That's a no-go. Okay, you don't get charged for that. Guys, the leads are through this company, digital marketing media, the leads are $35, which is a lot cheaper. We were using another company, the leads were $55. These are $20 less expensive, same quality, it's the same procedure. They're just it's a lower price lead. I've checked this company out. They've been around for 5 years. They're out of California. The owner of the company was a very successful life insurance agent, has written several books. So my point is that if you've got the budget to invest $400, $500, $600 a week, and you don't want to be on the phone just pounding the phone, this may be an alternative that you can look into, is just doing live transfers, because at the end of the day, you're just you're cutting to the chase. So instead of having to make 50 calls on old leads to talk to one person and maybe do a presentation, $35, you're making a presentation, or you have an actual live person that is interested in getting information about final expense. I can tell you, my disclosure, I have not actually worked leads from this company, although I am signing up. I'm going to try out 20 to 30 leads probably next week, and I can give you some feedback on what my experience is. And Mark Sorgman in Massachusetts, he's signing up as well. He's going to take 20 leads. So within about a week or so, maybe we can do a follow-up call. I can give you some feedback on this. I know there's going to be a learning curve. With anything new, there's going to be a learning curve, but this is just another lead to get you in front of people if you've got the budget to do it. If you're on a tighter budget, what we're really going to be talking about today and going over the phone script is the aged lead store. And you guys remember last week we had Bill Rice on that was talking about aged leads, how they're generated. So here's the pricing on them, guys. You can get literally leads that are less than 30 days old for $2. You can get the 31 to 85 day old leads for $1.50. If you're on a super tight budget, get the ones that are over 90 days old. They're between 3 months and a year old. They're 40 cents. 40 cents. So man, you put in here, let me just do this. Buy $100 worth of leads. I know it would be divided by, right? 100 leads divided by 0.44. That's not right. 0.04. Is that right? Oh no, it's 40 cents. I was doing it by 250 leads, I think is what it would be. 1,000 divided by 0.4. Yeah, 250. That gets you 250 leads. So for $100, that'll get you 250 leads. That's more than enough for a week's worth of phone calls. Good chance if you put in the work, you'll be able to make make connections, and also make calls from this. Another source, if you're even on a tighter budget, I opened up a new account with List Giant. The provider I had before, what I found out was that he was purchasing data that was already 3 or 4 years old. We got a lot of disconnected numbers. I opened an account up with List Giant. The thing about List Giant is they guarantee their numbers. This is much more accurate phone numbers, much more accurate data with email addresses. What I'm doing is I'm purchasing blocks of 10,000. So I still have plenty of data left. So if you look at the 10,000, I purchased 10,000 leads for basically $500, which works out to be 5 cents a lead. So if you're on a super tight budget and you just need people to call, contact me. I'll get the leads for you at 5 cents a piece. This way you don't have to buy 10,000. Let's say you only want a couple hundred or 1,000 leads. It's going to be a lot cheaper doing it that way. What's cool about List Giant is you can really get down to the like with the filters, you can really get down to like a granular outcome, meaning is that we can be very specific with counties, zip codes. We can filter by area code. I can also filter by gender. I can filter by language. So as an example, Jimmy, let's say you want a list of people that are between the ages of, 55 and 75, whatever ages you want, guys. If you want to only deal with people from, age 60 to 79, we can do that too. We can select the age band. I can also select the gender. Let's say hypothetically, you only wanted to solicit females. I can do only females. Let's say, better than that, let's say you only want to target single females. Now, if a female is in her 60s or 70s and they're single, there's a high probability that they've been widowed, that their husband has already passed away. Great candidate. Anybody that's ever sold final expense, great candidate for life insurance. And then we can filter it by age. There's a ton of filters that we can do to get you the exact criteria that you need. And there's a very, very simple phone script that you can use for calling this targeted list. Let's say you speak Spanish and you want Spanish leads. We can do the filter so we can get you Spanish speaking people. Let's say you don't speak Spanish. Let's say you're calling, I don't know, let's say you want leads in El Paso, Texas, which has a extremely high population of Spanish speaking clients. But let's say you don't speak Spanish. We can omit Spanish speaking, and this way you only get English speaking people. Okay, so there's a lot of filters that we can put in place to help you get what you need. The point of the matter is that you've got to have the leads. Without leads, you're out of business, guys. And here's the sales funnel. We've talked about the sales funnel before. We've kind of updated it a little bit since we're doing telesales now. Leads at the top of the funnel. You got to have more leads than you have time. You need a ton of leads. Leads are going to lead to connections, talking to people on the phone. Connections are going to lead to presentations, which are going to lead to applications. So you've got to have those leads are going to be crucially important. All
Hey,
right,
Joe,
now yes.
you mentioned that the leads off that list, they come with email addresses?
List Giant?
Yes.
Do they? Yeah, if it's available.
Okay.
It's available. The other thing too about the List Giant that I forgot to mention is that if you only want cell phones. So let's say you want a list of single females in San Antonio and you only want people that have cell phone numbers, we can get that list too.
Okay. Well, here's the thing I wanted to say, and this is really cool, is that if you have a list with email addresses, you can warm up those people with Facebook, because Facebook has a custom marketing program where you provide them the email addresses, and then you can run an advertisement, and that advertisement will only go to that custom list. So you keep your costs down, you're kind of warming them up, and then that way when you call or email them or text them, chances are they've already got familiar with you. They saw your ad, and now you're calling them. And we have a little video made probably about 3 or 4 years ago, and I still have that video. That's a little 2-minute commercial for Senior Solutions and Final Expense that we ran on Facebook. So we can still run that if you're interested. Get with Joe and we can run that video, and that'll help warm up these people.
Yeah, that's a good point. The other thing too is about talking about emails. You want email addresses? Every lead from the Age Lead Store has an email address.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, because they're generated, they're internet leads, and I believe with List Giant you can filter for email and phone number. So if there's no email on record, you wouldn't pay for that record. You wouldn't get that record. So yeah, you can. I'm almost 1,000% sure that you can filter for that. But guys, we're just giving you ways. I mean, no, regardless whether you have a $500 a month or week budget, or maybe it's $50 a week. We're on this list here. How many leads do you get at? Listen, man, at $50 divided by 0.05, you realize $50 would get you 1,000 people to talk to? $50, 1,000 names and numbers, and we can do the filter of exactly how you want it. You can email them. You can do the Facebook ad. I mean, we really got to think outside the box. We really do. Get our heads out of the sand and just go to work, man. Go to work. Put in an 8-hour day every single day. All right, how to sell age internet leads. All right, Jimmy. So here's the new script. Let me see how we're doing on time. Wow. Should we keep going or do a continuation? I want to get through this script.
I would do a continuation.
Okay. Can I just read through the script once?
Sure, yeah.
All right, let's just do a phone call. Guys, this is the script I've been using. Now, this is for the leads off of the Age Lead Store, okay? So Jimmy, what I would say is just for sake of time, just be a relatively easy client. And,
Okay.
you can give me a little bit of a hard time, but not too much. So that way we can kind of get through the script. All right, ring, ring, ring.
Hello.
Hello, Jimmy.
Yes.
Hey, Jimmy, this is Joe with the Senior Benefits Center for the state of Texas. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. What can I do for you, Joe?
Well, Jimmy, I gotta tell you, I'm really glad I finally was able to get a hold of you. Out of curiosity, how you getting along with everything that's happening with the coronavirus?
Oh, we're getting along. It's different not being able to go to the store as often, but we're managing okay.
Yeah, I'm assuming now, Jimmy, you're retired. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, well, they have, a lot of things have changed. Fortunately, with our company, I'm able to work from home and still reach out to our clients. But Jimmy, the reason for the call is that a while back you had requested some information online. It was regarding the state regulated programs for final expenses. That's like burial and cremation. Now, Jimmy, the good news is you've already been pre-approved, and it's my job to help with the enrollment process. Out of curiosity, do you know how these state regulated plans work?
No, I sure don't.
Okay, well, the first thing, Jimmy, I want to let you know is that I don't work for an insurance company. Okay, we are here at Senior Solutions. We are a state licensed brokerage. What that means is that I'm going to shop 10 to 15 top rated insurance companies to find you the best coverage with the lowest cost possible. And simply, if we can find a program that fits your budget, I'm just going to help you apply for it. Now, Jimmy, do you feel a benefit of around 5 to 10,000 would be enough, or do you want information on a larger amount?
Oh, probably a higher amount. Yeah.
Okay, so guys, just to call a quick timeout, this is very assumptive. Now, Jimmy may stop me and say, "Hey, what's this all about?" We'll get to that next week. So Jimmy's compliant. He's following along with my script, but just listen to the delivery, the tonality. Like I'm not sounding like a telemarketer. So he says for a larger amount. Okay, guys, I'm going to go straight into the health questions. I'm not going to ask for permission. I'm not going to say what we're going to do next. I'm just going to start asking health questions. This is what I have found to be very effective. Now, Jimmy, I know this may seem like a silly question, but I am required by law to ask you this. Are you currently hospitalized or do you reside in a nursing home?
No, no, not at all.
Okay. Well, what about, do you require any assistance for activities of daily living, such as eating, bathing, dressing, or toiletries?
No, no, I'm healthy.
Okay, you don't use a walker or wheelchair, scooter, or anything like that?
No, sir.
Okay, so guys, what I'm going to do before I get into the medical questions, I'm going to do the ultimate filter, I'm just going to ask Jimmy what he's currently taking for medications. Okay, now for time's sake, I'm not going to go through all the health questions. We will pick up on that next week. So let's just fast forward. Let's assume I've asked him all the health questions. The last thing I've asked him was his height and weight. Now I'm going to say, hey Jimmy, let me lay out some plans, and let's see. Okay, let me lay out the plans and see if we can find something that fits your budget. But Jimmy, you got to do me a favor. You got to promise me is if what I'm showing you doesn't fit into your budget, that you'll let me know, okay? Because we can make adjustments. We can find a plan that will fit your budget. And at the end of the day, Jimmy, wouldn't you agree at least having some coverage in place is better than not having anything at all?
Yes, I agree.
Okay. And then so what I'm going to do there, guys, is that I already know his health. I've already selected it. Let's say it's going to be a Liberty Bankers deal. Just as an example, I've selected the carrier. Hey, Jimmy, do me a favor. Can you just grab a pen and paper so you can
Sure.
write down the options? Just let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay. First thing, Jimmy, just based on your age, I want to let you know that I am required to show you what the maximum benefit is under this program. So the maximum benefit is $35,000. So if you could just write down for me on the piece of paper, just write down 35,000.
Okay.
Okay. And then I'm going to give you numbers for 35,000. I'm also going to give you numbers for the 15,000 because that's what you said you wanted a quote on. So give them the quote on how much they said they wanted. And then Jimmy, I'm also going to give you information on a $10,000 policy as well. Okay.
Okay.
Give me just a second, Jimmy. I'm gonna figure out all the premiums. It'll take me just a second. So guys, what you want to do is you want to write that down, and then you want to pre-calculate those rates. So that way there's no hesitation. Okay, Jimmy, I've got all the figures for you. Jimmy, next to the 35,000, what you would need to set aside is I want you to write down for me $189.67. Now that's per month. That's what you would need to set aside for the 35,000. For the 15,000, I want you to write down $83.12. And again, that's per month. And then Jimmy, for the 10,000, you would only need to set aside $56.84. But Jimmy, you tell me which of these work best for you.
Oh, I like that 10,000.
The 10,000 for 56?
Yes.
Okay. And Jimmy, that $56 that comfortably that fits into your budget, that's not going to take any food off the table?
That's correct.
Okay. And Jimmy, who would you want to name as your beneficiary on that? In other words, who do you want the money to go to?
My son.
Okay. So guys, from there, I'm going to tighten up the application, and because of time, we're not going to be able to do the whole thing. But next week, what I promise is that we're going to hop right into the phone script first, and we're going to handle some objections. So make sure that you tune in. What I'm going to do is that we've got this recorded on YouTube. I'm going to get it recorded and posted, and I'm going to send everybody a copy of this. Last thing, real quick, Jimmy, the other thing I'm going to send everybody a copy of is the updated activity tracker. This is for telesales, so I made some adjustments. As you can see, you're going to be able to track your dials, you're going to track your connections, the number, the scripts, presentations, applications, approvals, your annual premium volume, referrals, and then the safe money, which is possible annuities. Okay, so I'm going to get this out to everybody. So it's a slightly modified activity tracker. And that's it, buddy. We ran 7 minutes over.
All right. Well, great call, Joe.
All right, buddy. All right, sounds good. We'll pick up next week, guys, and I'll get this out to everybody. Everybody have a blessed weekend. Take care.
Thank you.
All right, man. Bye-bye.